All right, all right. I believe we are live. Now, apologies for all the mess. This is literally just thrown together to show you what we're up to. Please let me know if you are here in the chat. We tried this a little bit earlier, but I'm using a bit of power line adapters in our house to try and get internet around the place. But we're now, but I've just run a cable up to the top floor so that we can actually get some hardwired internet. So let me know if you're seeing and hearing me okay. I literally just threw down an A10 Mini and 2 cameras here just to show you what's happening. So, morning, Jezza. How's it going? It's actually it's a good time for you. There's I know for the some of our European friends it's going to be quite late. Hear you loud and clear. Good to hear. Good to hear. So welcome. If you're watching this on demand, I've just thrown this together to give you a bit of behind the scenes and to answer some of your live questions about what we are working on. So please throw things in the chat. I'm keen to keep this super interactive and chat with you as we're doing this. I've got about half an hour or so, which I can until I got my next meeting. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So people have been asking, what is this? What is this thing I'm working on? So this is my new live stream studio in a box. So I had my old one, which is a A10 Mini Extreme rig, which had like the A10 Mini Extreme, the XR16, and a few other bits and pieces which you'll probably recognize in this kit. But that was the old system, and that is now pulled apart. So I had the A10 Mini Extreme, which I'm actually streaming off right now. So I still have that here, but basically what was ended up happening was the streams I was doing were just getting too big for the Extreme. I was having streams where I had more than 8 inputs trying to go into it, and that got a little bit interesting. So this rack is to replace that. It is slightly overkill for most things, but at the same time I have filled up Constellations pretty often. Now, the keen-eyed may notice that there is a Constellation sitting in here now, but this is not the 4ME HD, which is what I originally ordered. So once they announced it at NAB, I put an order in for a 4ME HD, but as some of you have noticed, they have not actually shipped yet, which is not great. But I had jobs coming up. I have a job coming up tomorrow, actually, which I am frantically trying to get this done for. So it'll be a bit of a roll it out and hope for the best. So yeah, that's basically what is happening here. So I ended up buying the Bullet, got the AK instead. I may end up selling it down the track. So any Aussies out there, they may be looking at a cheap X-Demo switcher down the track, maybe, who knows, possibly. Because ultimately I only needed the HD one, but ended up going for the AK because it was actually in stock and available. So cost about triple the price of what of the original 4K, but at least it's here. Hey, I've got my sister in the chat. Simple Aquariums, how you doing? She's got an amazing YouTube channel. She's absolutely killing it. I think you've almost hit 10,000 subs on aquariums and such. So if you're remotely interested in aquariums, you should go check her out. But yeah, welcome. So hit me up with any questions as you're going. So I'll kind of run you through what I've got here. Actually, I'll cut to the back camera so you can see what's happening. So apologies for the overexposedness. The lighting in here is not great, but doing the best we can. So I'll go from top to bottom. So at the top, I've got 5 20-volt power supplies here. Now, why 20? Well, we work with the A10 Mini Pro, sorry, not the A10 Mini Pros, the Ursa Mini Pros, the Broadcast, etc. And that is being done, and sorry, those power up to 20 volts. So what I ended up doing is making a bunch of looms which have 2 SDIs and a DC power in it. So that allows me to run just a single connection. So in the back here, there's going to be 2 SDIs, so ins, outs, and power. That means I can just go in, out, power, and that will power the and run the cameras. So I've got 5 of them here. I can also run some monitors off that. So I'm planning on in our office running a permanence sort of solution so that we can actually see. So we have monitors and stuff on the desk because I was getting sick of having to pull that in and out. Now working our way down the second shelf, we have got about 9 SDI to HDMI and HDMI to SDI converters. So you may have seen my recent video about the how I did the power supplies for that. So that is what ended up in here. So, but in that video I was using 3G converters. And because I went 4K, I was like, well, I'm already spending, what, 14 grand on a switcher. What's an extra 3 grand to convert this to 12G? A lot apparently, but anyway. So I swapped all these out and these are now all 12G. So this whole rack is 4K capable, which is actually quite exciting. I'll keep an eye on that chat as well. Mix minus, Jez, I'll get down to that because that's at the bottom of the rack. But that's going to be very interesting. There's a few things about this which is going to make life a lot easier. So yeah, 12G converters at the front there. So you can probably see the SDI connectors there. So basically I'm going to be having all the SDIs going out into the Constellation at the back. On the rack below that we have, let me get this so I can see what's going on, and that camera again. Rack below that we have a whole bunch of random stuff. So we've got a 5 volt and a 12 volt power supply, we've got Apple TV, we've got a GL iNet router, we have some HDMI audio embedders, so analog in embedders so that I can use different audio on those embedders. I've got 2 Raspberry Pis here, I've got one for Playout B, so just a general playout thing, as well as one for companion as well. What else is on there? And there will also actually be a Netgear switch. So we've got this PoE switch from Netgear, 16 port, and that will sit right in here. It's actually quite tight, this whole rack, as you can tell. As well as a powered USB hub for the companion Pi. So I've got little USB extenders coming to a rack up here, which will then extend out to a bunch of Stream Decks. Because as you know, I love my Stream Decks. Below that, the shiny new Constellation 8K. I fired it up and tested everything, which is all working, which is great. Below that, I've got 2 Hyperdeck Studio Plus HDs, which I actually found a really cool feature on these, which I haven't seen anyone else mention, but it's actually really, really interesting. So something that I've fallen into in a bunch of gigs is, all right, I'm shooting 4K, but I need to get HD somewhere. So how on earth do I get a HD down convert? Because it's easy to up convert, that's no problem. But down converting, that is a whole other kettle of fish. Now, what I have been doing is using either the 6G or the 12G SDI to HDMI converters, because they will do a down convert if you have a display that can only accept HD. But in playing with these HyperDecks, they have a monitor out. And I noticed on the tech specs, it's only a 3G monitor out. Now, if you put 4K into it, since it's only a 3G connector, it will actually down convert that, and you can turn off the overlays. So you actually get yourself a down converter in your HyperDecks, which is really, really, really cool. Hello from the Netherlands. Here we got Camille. I hope I said that right. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, let me know where you're coming from. I'd love to know where you are all coming in from. Apologies for the bad time for the rest of the world, because unfortunately Australia is just in the worst time zone possible for the rest of the world. But I kind of woke up this morning and went, hey, let's just do this. Why not? Yeah, so free down converter in the HyperDeck. So that means if you're doing a program record, for example, you can just spit out a HD version out of that, and you got yourself a free down converter. So that is that. Jonas, good to see you, man. And below that, we've got a Ultra Studio 4K Mini, I think it is. So that came from the old rack, and then beside that, we've got a StarTech Thunderbolt converter, again from the old rack again. But that means that I have a single Thunderbolt going into the into a laptop, and that means that I can actually have network, have my cam links plugged in for webcams and such, so that is super handy. And then the X32. Pierre, is it Pierre? Pierre? Pleased to see you as well. Thank you so much for joining. Again, I apologize for not uploading more. It has been an absolutely crazy time. But I have built a new studio upstairs at the moment. So I bought some lights because I was getting sick of setting this up all the time. Now, obviously, I've set this up because I don't want to have to move this upstairs because that's just not going to work. But I am trying to get a permanent thing set up so that I can get you some content. So apologies for that. The Behringer X32 rack. So that is the audio brains of this system. Now, why did I go for the X32? Well, it is the cheapest console that is digital, that contains MADI, and is rack mount, and it actually has analog I/O. And MADI is, well, to be honest, MADI is the main reason why I went for the 8K versus something else. So I've got MADI going in and out of the X32 and the Constellation. So that gives me full digital audio all the way through the entire system. So on the X32, you have, the MADI connector itself, well, the MADI stream has 64 channels. So on a Constellation 4ME HD or 8K, you have MADI audio coming from the first 30 inputs. So 1 to 30 will give you MADI audio out. On MADI 1, you will have channels 1 and 2 from the input on that channel. So input 1, channels 1 and 2. On MADI 2, you will have inputs 1 to 30, but you'll have channels 3 and 4 coming into that. Which MADI extension card do you use? I think there's only one of them. I've got it's just the X-MADI card. I think I got it on Amazon or something. So yeah, but I think since I've looked then, they've been very hard to find. I know the Dante stuff is impossible to find at the moment, but yeah, you might be able to find some online, but I think the MADI is kind of like disappeared a little bit. I think I got this just in time before they kind of disappeared, but I think they might still be around. You might be able to find some potentially secondhand as well. So yeah, so it's the X-MADI card on there. Now, because this is a 32 channel console, and because the expansion slot on these X32s is only 32 channel, that means that you've only got 32 channels to work with, not 64. So what they've done in the software is that they've actually allowed you to choose which 32 chunks of inputs you can use. So I've selected down the bottom, like the second last chunk, not the last one, but the second last one. Sorry, got stuff in my throat. Not COVID again. That COVID stream was a bit tough. But we've got, sorry, 1 second. So I've chosen the ones towards the end. The reason for that is that I've got a bunch of things in here which are going to be permanently patched into the X32. But the first 20 channels I'm going to have as a strip of I/O at the back. Reason for that being is that if I'm using a camera, for example, if I had my permanent stuff at the beginning, my camera might be start at 12, for example, which would mean that when I'm trying to do CCU, I could reallocate that to 1, but it's only going to come out the 12th port, and the CCU is only going to come out as 12. So that is my reason for doing that, because I wanted to be able to chuck in any inputs at the beginning and not have to worry about reordering channel numbers, because I don't really care about the channel numbers where they are in the system. The only ones I do care about is the cameras for tallies and CCU and such. So yeah, I think my inputs start at 21, which is my, yeah, so input 21 is my permanent, so let's get it away. Permanent inputs, which I think goes to about 30 or 32. And in the last 8 channels, I'll kind of leave blank. I don't have enough I/O in the back to actually have them as physical connectors. If I need it for a job, I'll make it work. But that means I'll have 20 I/O on the back. I'll have the rest of the stuff in the rack that is permanently patched in. In terms of the outputs, I believe the first 20 outputs are going to be on the back as well as the multi-views, and the last 4 SDI outputs will go to things like the HyperDecks at the bottom, and also some cam links. Now I've got setups for 2 cam links in this system. Oh, can't hear me. Have I? Test. Yep. Oh no, I'm seeing audio. Sorry, I did mute temporarily just because I was coughing. So hopefully you can still hear me though. Welcome, Graham. Good to see you in the chat as well. Now, what was I up to? So I was talking about ins and outs. Yes. So cam links. Now, one thing I do quite a lot of is Zoom, Teams, what do you call them? Virtual events. And things like Mix Minus and all that kind of stuff does get very, very interesting when working with events like that. So for example, I'm doing a live stream where I have a presenter on set, and we're doing a mix with cameras, things, all that kind of stuff. I apologize. Yes, I had audio follows video off. I had to reboot the system. Okay, I got the audio sorted now. Apologies for that. So hopefully you didn't miss too much. Yes, so we have so we have someone on set and they need to talk to the people on Zoom, for example. Now, we don't want just to have one mix going to Zoom, because then we'll have feedback issues and all that kind of stuff going on. But what I've actually gotten to was that I need almost 3 different mixes for a lot of the things I'm doing now. So I need a mix for record, which includes my host on set as well as the people on Zoom. But obviously those 2 people we don't want to send, we don't want to send the Zoom people back to Zoom. We have a mix going to the presenter so that they can hear, actually there's a whole bunch of different mixes going on. But essentially what ended up happening was I've got a permanent cam link set up in here. So that will be able to give me, and I've got a aux from the X32 going into a HDMI embedder, which will go into the cam link. So that means I can set up my own stereo mix going through that cam link to the computer. Hopefully everything will stay in sync that way so that the audio and the video are still together at the point of going into the computer. Because if they're separate, things can change and things like that. So, and I've also got a second cam link, which will be a HDMI output on the back of this rack going to another computer. So if I need a second type of Mix Minus, I can do that as well. The other fun thing about the HyperDecks is that they now have webcam out. So one thing I was really looking forward to on the Constellation HD was the fact that it had a webcam out, which would mean that I can get a program mix, program video output from the Constellation. The 8K does not do that, which is a bit of a pain, but not much we can do about that. But I've got 2 HyperDecks in here, so I can theoretically have 2 extra webcam outputs with 2 different feeds if I need, for whatever reason. But yes, cam links are my friends, and it's all 4K as well, so it'll down convert that to, actually, does it down convert that, or does it keep it 4K? Let me know in the comments if you know the answer to that. So I'm pretty sure that it says a cam link 4K, so maybe a 4K webcam, which would actually be quite cool. What other things have we got going on in here? Let's have a look at the chat. Why don't you use XR18 instead of the XR16 and use the built-in audio interfaces instead of all that HDMI audio strippers? Now, That is a great question. In this rack, it's not going to make a difference because I've got the MADI going on here. So I don't need to be doing any analog de-embedding to go into the switcher because the MADI does all that from the switcher itself. In my previous rack, the issue I had was I had multiple inputs going into the switcher which had multiple sets of audio. So I had like a Raspberry Pi with videos, I'd have HyperDecks with videos, I'd have laptops with audio, I'd have SDI feeds with audio. So I'd have all these different things to be able to get, that need to get into the console. Now, if it was all on a computer, I could do that using USB, but really I only had one feed going into the Behringer on the old system. But that's where things were just getting absolutely messy. So I just went, stuff it, I'm just going to go with full digital, out and in. Now I do have hum eliminators on the audio embedders for the cam links because I still do need a little bit of analog to be able to get those extra mixes into the cam links. But for the most part, everything is staying digital, which is amazing. So hopefully that answers that question. Let me know if it doesn't. Jonas, how much space am I leaving between my stuff? Yes. That is the magic question, isn't it? Now, how I've kind of set this out, let's see if this is going to be the best angle from back here. You should be able to hear me still. Yep, staying right audio. Now, I've kind of got like 3 different layers. I've got the power supplies up here, which are already enclosed power supplies. So I'm hoping those are fine. Everything down here is open from front to back, so there can be a bit of airflow, but I've kind of set this bottom bit to be the hot zone, for example. Now, one thing I noticed yesterday is that the heat goes different directions for the Constellation and the Terranex gear. So the heat goes this way for the Constellation and goes this way for the Terranex stuff, which is not ideal because it kind of means that you got heat going into the intake there. But I do have a fan. So this fan is going to be sitting, exhaust fan. So this fan is going to be sitting up here. So we're going to have connectors filling up all of this, and this bottom bit is going to be open down here. So the idea being that you can get cool air being sucked in from the bottom and then exhausted at the top. And you've got this tray at the top to kind of keep all the heat in this area. Now this thing can get pretty powerful, so depending on, get pretty fast. So depending on the heat on the day, it's also got a probe as well, so I can keep an eye out on what temperature things are getting to. But yes, there will be airflow going on. If there was no fan in here, it would definitely cook, especially in a hot environment. Because and Jonas is saying, because it might do not leave that much space. Look, there's not going to be that much space in the end. Especially once there's going to be, what, 70 odd cables going between these 2 different things. But yeah, I've got the fan at the top, and I can crank that as high as I want. Now, how loud is the rack? It was almost silent up until I put the Constellation in there, and then things got loud again. Can I fire it up so you can hear potentially? Now, it's not the kind of rack where you'd want to have this next to you while you're streaming. So I intentionally didn't fire it up just so didn't have any complaints in the comments saying, oh, it's too much fan noise. But yeah, the Constellation is a little bit of a loud guy, and the fan, I usually leave it around level 3, is fairly comparable as well. And in the office, we've also got a UPS in there, which is also quite loud too. So it's unfortunately, this is not designed to be like an ASM Mini on a desk. It's just, this is going to be sitting in a control room somewhere, and we'll just have to deal. That's basically what it comes to. But what I am planning on doing though is at the office, we've got a desk which we've kind of dedicated for streaming and such. So we've got like a gigabit network, gigabit internet there. So we can do streams in and out of there. Now, what my plan is to actually make a long loom of SDI, audio, Ethernet, power, etc., so that I can drop some monitors, some speakers, some different things on there, so that when I arrive in there, I just throw it through a hole in the desk, plug it into the rack, and once everything's in there, I'll put a video together of that. I've been filming the progress of this as I've been going along as well, so I will have video up on this build as well as the office build as well. I'm kind of doing a bit half and half at the moment because I've got the this build going on. I've got the job tomorrow I need to try and get working for, so I'm not doing everything 100%. I don't think I'll have it fully finished by tomorrow, but who knows? Well, we may get it done. Yeah, so I'll try to put a full video of that whole setup, and I'm actually going to do a bit of an advertising campaign on that too, which should be fun. What else we got? How's the switching been done via companion or hardware panel? So I don't have a hardware panel. I do have Stream Decks for days. So my plan with all this is if I need a hardware panel for a job, I'll probably just hire one for that event to be able to cut on. But whenever I'm doing these kind of gigs, it's all programmed in Companion, and that's basically what I do. So I'll be using Stream Decks out of the Raspberry Pi here, and that will be running the event. So that is what I would normally do. Down the track, we may look at buying a panel. Unfortunately, they're all out of stock at the moment. So my guess is they're struggling to find those buttons or something, because it's just a lot of buttons on those things, and the chip shortage is not helping. But yeah, I've only got about 8 minutes left. So if you've got any questions, throw them in the chat now. Yeah, again, this was kind of just thrown together and just wanted to run you through what I'm doing. So yeah, I do have quite a lot of connections to get terminated today. This guy's going to be getting a run for its money, that's for sure. But yeah, any questions, throw them in there. It's become a very tight rack in here. So, but I'm pretty happy how it's turned out. It's amazing what an extra 4U worth of space in a rack can do compared to my old rack. That thing was just so tight and so small. I mean, it's very tight in here now, but ooh, I saw rumors. What kind of rumors we got? Have you heard the rumor that the new Constellation HD are compatible with the broadcast panels? You mean are not compatible with the broadcast panel, like the old broadcast panels? I think I did see someone say that the HD versions aren't supported with the old panels, which is quite annoying. I know this one is compatible with the old ones, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'm really hoping they'll release a very cheap version of a panel, because I'll definitely probably grab one of them if that's the case. But I'm also thinking potentially like a 2ME 20 or 30, maybe. Because if they start releasing the 4ME HDs, I may sell this and down convert that to that, because I'd rather put the money into having a 4ME plus a panel rather than just one 4ME 4K. I mean, 4K is nice and all, but it's not necessarily necessary at the moment. So I think it's likely to change in the future with the rack. I mean, look, everything changes. I'm not going to say this is going to be the final thing. There's a little bit of space up here. Like I might put a 4K Apple TV in here. Potentially a computer or something like that as a different, for different things, but I don't see that much changing. The reason it's 10 RU is because it fits under our desk at the office. I wanted to have 14 to have more cooling and more space and more things, but unfortunately this is the tallest one that we can get that fits under the desk. So that's really the main reason for this. Now the other thing I've done is my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, I've got that in a 2U rack now, and I started putting together some converters to go SDI to HDMI so I can use it as a multi-track recorder. So in a situation where I just plunk it on top, have a little bunch of ties going to the Constellation here, then I can pick any 8 channels to record to. This was before they released the Extreme ISO, the SDI Extreme ISO, but you know, that I don't really need to buy ones. I have all the bits here, but actually no, that's one thing I may do. I may put a SDI Pro ISO in here as a multi-track recorder. I may do that. I almost purchased one, but I'm going to kind of see how it goes. And yeah, Jonas was saying, yeah, the protocol isn't different. I think they just kind of gone, well, that's ancient technology now, so there's really no need to update that, which kind of sucks because that was a good, yeah, like it's a good panel. I actually really like it. I actually prefer it to the new panels because the buttons are bigger. Now the buttons on this are, I think, the same size as the new panels. Like the new panels are nice, they do have a lot more features, but I think in terms of the actual feel, the old panel, I do prefer that. So I got a couple minutes left, so throw any more things in the chat if you're still hanging around. Good to see a lot of you here. Which SDI cables do I use internally? Great question. So I'm a big fan of Belden. So I'm using Belden 1855 cable. So this is 6G rated cable. The switches, I mean, everything in here is 12G rated, but I don't see myself ever doing a 12G event. A lot of what I do, unless it's sports, is all 25 or 30 frames. But yeah, this stuff is super small, and in a rack this size with all these connectors, I would not want to have anything bigger because that is going to become an absolute pain. Now I use King's connectors, or Winchester I think they're called now. Now that's the connectors I use. I'm going to start playing with potentially the Neutrik and the Belden ones. I do have I bought a couple of a box of these guys. So I might try some of these because they're a bit quicker to use, and I think the price is fairly comparative as well. But yeah, now we'll see how we go. But for the most part, I've done thousands of these connectors, so I'm pretty used to them now. So yeah, 1855A cable for that. And of course, it has to be black because it can be any color as long as it's black. Will this stay inside studio or expect to be moved around a bit? It'll probably live mostly in the studio, but it is portable because it will be moved around. I've got a job coming up in a month's time where we're going to be off-site, and there will be more jobs off-site. So there's no point me doing a permanent solution because it will move. So mostly sitting in the office, but I'll definitely move it around. Yeah, I can have Kinect cables, and they are way too big. Oh, you had the Kinect cables. Yeah, I haven't actually seen any Kinect cables or play with them. I've only ever done Belden. I've heard good things about them, but I haven't actually tried it yet. So, but Kinect would probably have a smaller one like this as well, I'm sure. Because I've got 1505A, which is like the medium size, and then there's a big one as well. I can't remember the numbers, but. Do you know why the X-Air, all models are completely sold out around the world? Absolutely no units in any retailers. Look, the pandemic has not been kind to a lot of tech companies. So, like I know, for example, Yamaha, who make great audio consoles. When the chip shortage started happening, they apparently had a chip that they would use in a lot of their gear, but they just couldn't get it. So they basically went, "We're just not selling consoles for a year," and they'll rethink about it then. So basically it's a chip shortage. I got this in time, but yeah, I've spec'd one of these for another client, so I'm hoping I can actually physically get one. But yeah, you just got to kind of keep an eye out and just see what's online. Some people still have some old stock, but at the same time, I know companies are hurting. People are wanting this stuff, and you just can't get any more. So I'm going to have to wrap this up because I've got a meeting to go to, but thank you so much for joining, everyone. It's been a bit fun. It's good to be live again. I will definitely finish off this video, well, finish off the rack and then finish off the video of this, and I'll put that up in the hopefully near future. And I'm going to have my new studio set up. I'm just trying to figure out a background at the moment. I've got the lighting set up, looks great. But yes, try not to spend too much money because this thing was not cheap. So trying to be a little bit wise there, but you know, it's toys, it's fun. But yeah, thank you all for joining though. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.